Okay. Wow, what's up? Remember all the debates I had where I was like, if you care about like the economy, or if you care about the deficit, Trump isn't even a good pick for that, is he? Right? Isn't that?
Thanks for reminding me. NASDAQ is down 1.5% roughly. Russell 2000 down roughly 1.5%. S&P 500 down 1.66%. Is that up to date though? Hold on. No. Well, that's roughly what it is actually. No. Russell's down 2.31%, NASDAQ down 1.51%, S&P 500 down 1.75%. Moto Goyo thinks NASDAQ is the best, or QQQ, our best to monitor in the afternoon evening session today.
I don't know what this website is. NDTV World. Is this a good website? U.S. moves largest B-2 stealth bomber fleet, 3 aircraft carriers, to Indo-Pacific. The U.S. has a total of 20 B-2 stealth bombers, the world's most advanced military aircraft, of which 6 have now been deployed to the Indian Ocean region. Are we actually going to bomb Iran? Is this happening, or?
Is that most of it's posturing, that he's going to do it selectively, and if he doesn't, and he really does it across everything, he's a fucking moron.
But he's already done tariffs. Why would we not assume he wouldn't do more?
But he did tariffs reasonably well.
But he didn't, though, right? It just increased the cost of goods in the United States. We didn't actually bring anything.
Sometimes where you want to do that. So take the chips, for instance. If we're really trying to onshore things, or take things that are weapons manufacturing, anything that's in that chain, even if it's slightly more expensive for us to do it domestically, we need to do it. Because I think, and I do not want to be dictator, very much, because I think I'm very fallible. But odds are that we're moving towards conflict with China. The last thing I want are my artillery shells or bullets or whatever to be hamstrung by their ability to produce.
Which I think that's fair, and I think that there are national security arguments you can use for tariffs. Trump very rarely makes these. He usually makes economic arguments for it. But in the world that you're talking about, they would say, you'd say, we'll probably pay a little bit more for this, but it's probably worth it for the national security implications. And I could agree with some of that, for sure. Yeah. That's not an across-the-board tariff, though.
I agree.
So,
I'll say it one more time.
Okay, sure. So just to be clear, though, we're saying that Kamala is suggesting the tax on unrealized gains, which I'll bet you here now, we bet, $5,000, $10,000, will never happen because it's such a stupid policy. All forms of wealth tax, financial transaction tax, unrealized gain taxes are untenable for a billion different reasons. Okay, so I know it won't happen. Even if she might have flirted with it, I don't know how much she's talking about it now. But so we're saying that she will do that. We're genuinely concerned about that. But we're not genuinely concerned about Trump doing the only economic policy that he's given, that he's basically running on, that he's shown indications of and has done a little bit in the past.
Because, one, I've seen what 4 years under Trump looks like. And
it was bad for everything that you care about. It was horrible. He spent like crazy, printed money like crazy.
Oh, he did. On that, they're both.
But he did that in a time of economic prosperity. Yeah. So why would we ever expect him to buckle down?
He won't.
But then he's just, when he came into another time of economic, I'm sorry.
Who says, tariff China 200%, we need a global reset. Thanks a little bit. Thanks also to Oliver Hernandez for the gift membership. So nice of you. Thanks, Oliver. Make sure you thank.
The problem, too, is that if we start bombing Iran, they'll defend it. They'll defend everything. They'll defend everything. Hi, honey baby.
Like Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley. Paul Anderson, thank you. Hope I got all the money.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I know, that was unnecessary. My bad. Meow. Meow. Meow.
Remember, President Trump is scheduled to give a press conference with President Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. It's supposed to be 2:30 Eastern. I don't know if they'll start on time, but he might be asked about the markets during that press conference. I would think he would be. Press conference canceled?
What?
Two people said the press conference was. I haven't heard that. Is that true? When did you hear that?
I've been out of the loop. For what reason would the U.S. bomb Iran? So one of Israel's biggest fears historically has been any of the Arab, I say Arab, have been any of the surrounding Arab states having like weapons of mass destruction. So like Egypt or Syria or Jordan. Being able to nuke Israel would be really bad. Now, historically, it doesn't matter as much because Israel's made peace with most of them, kind of like the Gulf states, Egypt. But Iran still is very much not a friend of Israel. So the last like huge superpower threat now is like Iran getting nuclear weapons. It's a big concern of Israel. It's why we had the nuclear agreement under Obama in order to make it so they weren't going towards nuclear weapons. And it's why Israel kind of flies planes in every now and then and bombs Iran. I think Israel probably views Iran acquiring nuclear weapons as an existential threat, like an actual existential threat, not like trans people are to conservatives. So if Israel, my understanding is that if Israel felt like Iran was on the way to a nuclear weapon, Israel would begin flying missions into Iran. It would be a full-scale war. So I don't know if the U.S. would preemptively bomb so that Israel doesn't have to, or how that would look, but that's my understanding of that thing.
Leader appear in the Oval Office, they'll take questions. So we might hear them take questions in the Oval Office. Molly Morgan says that's really weird. Look, this was on the official White House schedule today. I saw the schedule. That press conference was scheduled. Big event, right, at the White House?
All the U.S. drags up in a war Israel is waging. Well, it's hard to say who's waging the war. Israel, the U.S. has two good reasons to be involved in that, but Trump has no macro view of the world. But the two good reasons to be involved is that one, Iran having nuclear weapons is very bad because it means another country has nukes, and it's just nuclear proliferation. It's just the thing that we are generally all opposed to in the world. And the second thing is Iran having nuclear weapons greatly upsets two strong Middle Eastern allies, which are the Saudis and the Israelis. So these are the American prerogatives to make it so that Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. Do you think this global trade war will snap some MAGA out of the cult? What do you think the long-term ramifications will be? Who knows?
Netanyahu's not there yet. We're still waiting for him to get there.
Just watched your Pants on Fire vid. What do you think of George Santos? Oh, did they publish that today? He's a smart guy, surprisingly. But, I mean, obviously, made some boo-boos.
This news just breaking.
But I don't know if
The White House...
Man, we had really... I think I mentioned a little bit of it after I came back from New York. We had some really good conversations, or just some really interesting stuff after... but it was all off-stream. The on-stream stuff, I think, was just kind of like me. It was a fun combo, but...
announced that the press conference with President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu
is canceled.
That was supposed to start in an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, maybe it would have started late. So this news is coming out an hour and 15 minutes before the start of the press conference, that they're not having it.
Okay. To my understanding, nukes are pretty easy to put together once you have the materials. Like, Iran doesn't need to rediscover the tech, so is that really the reason? Yeah, so my understanding is we should just... Is there a good video on this, actually? Fuck it, we have nothing else to do today. Fuck me, dude. What a horrible world. Enriching uranium to the appropriate isotope to make it, like, weapons grade ready, I think, is something that just requires, like, a massive amount of infrastructure, the centrifuges or whatever, to do it. And that's, I think, the big deal when it comes to doing nuclear weaponry, I believe. There's also, like, testing programs for ICBMs and whatnot, but You can probably hit Israel with medium-range ballistic missiles, or you can just fucking take the weapons over to Syria and shoot them right in. Who knows?
Hey.
There he goes. He's coming back.
NY committee says they'll take questions instead at the Oval Office. Maybe they will. I don't know why they canceled the press conference.
Some dude with the name Bloomberg today on Twitter, who is apparently verified, tweeted out that Trump was going to put a 90-day pause on the tariffs, and it caused apparently a 4 or 5 point swing in the markets, like trillions of dollars of quick movement up and down before people realized it was fake. Good platform. Elon. It was on the Bloomberg terminal. Error by CNBC. Oh,
Normally
okay.
there
Well,
would be both an Oval Office appearance and a press conference.
For Factorio, did you leave the settings for the bugs on default, or did you adjust them? I leave everything on default. Tweaking any of the default settings makes you not a real gamer.
That's what normally would happen. I'm hearing some sirens.
Why are such incompetent people allowed to be in charge? I don't get it. I like to use software analogies because I read programmer humor, and then I pretend that I know anything about software development. Okay. Imagine you are working on a big project, and there's this horrible thing called GitHub, where people are like having branching versions, and where they go to merge, there's like conflicts, and it's hard to keep track of like what's what, and it's just like it's like a clusterfuck of shit. And you're like, you know what? Wouldn't the government, I mean, our software project, wouldn't it be so much better if we just got rid of GitHub and we all just like worked on the same fucking code base like normal humans? Maybe we could just like make a backup, and then you do that, and it's like really awesome until you run into your first problem. That's what's happening right now with government. Is it seems like there's a whole bunch of wasted, stupid shit, like bureaucrats and people that know stuff, and they're all losers. And if we get rid of them, we can make the government real awesome. And yeah, we were kind of doing that for a little bit with Doji and all this other retarded shit. And now I think it's become a bit more obvious that maybe that's not the way to go. Maybe. Non-politics question. How do you deal with grief? I'm 27 and just learned my mom has stage 4 cancer and that my dad and brother both might have heart failure. I'm desensitized and feel bad about it. I don't do that stuff very much, the grief stuff, but it's because I'm a sociopath and I actually don't know. I'm not a good person to ask for that. I really don't know. This is something I would say, okay? If for your mom and for your dad, especially because they're older, they probably have like a lot of history in terms of credit that you can probably take out a bunch of loans on with no intention of paying back. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Stuff like grief or first loves or, horrible diseases like cancer or dementia. Even though these things feel uniquely horrible, these are super common experiences that like every human being has had or is currently having or has suffered through. If you're going through something like that, I highly, highly, highly recommend. It sounds cringe and gay and lame, but like look into a support group or just find other people who have gone through that experience. Like there are well-tread paths in terms of ways to optimize, the time you have left with a person or, how you can function with people and everything. You owe it to yourself. And you owe it to the people, who are going through that too, because you want their, last days, months, years to be good as well. So.
He wouldn't have stopped anyway, but it was also really raining hard, so. I was stressed. I just wanted to make sure.
The CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, was interviewed at noon and said most
The
CEOs he
meeting is
talks
not
to.
canceled. The press conference.
say we are already in a recession, and while he thinks in the long run we are in a buying opportunity, that doesn't mean we can't fall another 20% from now. Probably not worth watching the falling, but interesting. Well, the things about recessions are like the good times. You don't know that they happened until you're already halfway through it. Definitionally, a recession is retroactively defined as 2 quarters of GDP contraction, right?
What's going to Barack Ravid says that they will answer questions in the Oval Office. Again, there's some sort of reason it was canceled. I don't know. Uh-oh.
I'm at work and just got on break. Is the title of the stream true about the tariff? Okay, do people just not read titles of streams? Should I change this? Now I feel like I'm genuinely baiting. I thought it was a good meme. Trump repeals tariffs, markets rebounding, Russia pulls out of Ukraine, happy opposite day. Is that not obvious what I'm saying? Is that really that hard to figure out? This is why when I listen to somebody and they speak well, I say, oh, this person's above average intelligence, because you guys are fucking retarded. What the fuck?
I'm hearing the protesters all yelling. One of our viewers says, I could hear protesters' background noise. Yes, you can.
My hand's right here. If I need to move one now.
Put the happy opposite day in the front. All this sounds like way too good news to even finish reading the title. That's the point. That's why it's a joke. You fucking retard. Cut off at the end. All these people cut off at the end. I didn't know there's so many Jews in my audience. You see that Navarro says they don't give a fuck if Vietnam removes all of its tariffs? Navarro, don't you mean Ava, whatever the fuck? Was that story true? I don't want to believe it. I didn't look into it anymore, and I'm not going to look into it anymore. Was he really citing his own fucking book made under a pen name? That must have been like a thing, like he told everybody, right? Like, oh, like I wrote a book, ahaha, but it's under a pen name, right?
Nice.
It's not nice.
In case you missed it, there was supposed to be a...
I will say, though, let me say one more time. LeMayo Destiny is a paid activist. Any argument he makes is in bad faith. Comrade. True. So true, comrade. Yes. I have not sold a single share of anything. Don't try to panic dump and panic buy. You are going to lose so much money, okay? I know that times are spooky and it seems scary, okay? But do not let politics influence sound financial decision making, okay? Be careful. This is what you think is going to happen. What you think is going to happen is the market is going like this, and then it's going to go like this. And what you think is going to happen is you think you're selling here, or if you're really arrogant. Now, some of you might think you're smart. You're like, I'm selling here. And then if you're really arrogant, you're like, I'm going to sell here. Or rather, I'm sorry, hold on. That was backwards. You might think you're selling here, okay? And then some of you might sell here and think that you can like buy back in on its way up or whatever. What you're actually going to end up doing is this. This is what you're going to end up doing. This is what you're going to end up doing, okay? What you're going to end up doing is you're going to see the market go down like this, and you're going to say, fuck, and you're going to sell. Then it's going to go up, and you're going to say, fuck, and you're going to buy. Then it's going to go down, and you're going to go, fuck, and then you're going to sell. Then it's going to go up and you go, oh shit, I got it back. And then you're going to buy. And you're going to do this over and over again. And when the markets rebound, you're going to be missing half your fucking money. Okay? Just buy and hold. If you want to bullshit yourself into thinking everything is better, then there's a little math trick that investors like to tell themselves, and it's called dollar cost averaging, okay? When you buy into whatever you're invested in, when the price goes down, it means the average price per share that you've paid is lower than it was before because you're dollar cost averaging. Just keep putting your money in, take a deep breath, do that. Don't start dumping all your shit, because if you dump all your shit, you're gonna get fucked. Scott Galloway said the same. Good! He should, because that's the good advice. Even the one guy, and I was surprised to hear him say it, even the one guy said the same thing, PBD.
Of the plan, because look how rich everyone is, having enriched those same people for many.
Nah, fuck it. We'll listen to the whole thing. Fuck it. Damn, I can't believe this guy's worth so much money. I feel like there's this whole center-left world of like cool people that I've just never heard of before. We've gotten more into them. I don't even know. Oh, it's just because I saw Kara Swisher on Piers. But like this world of like the Bulwark people of Scott Galloway, Kara Swisher, that that Tim Dillon dude. It's Tim Dillon, right? What did he tweet out? Fuck, was it on another account? Wait, no, Tim Dillon is not the right name. Who am I thinking of? Tim Miller, my bad. It's rather fortuitous that the Trumpers brought back retarded right at the moment in history that they spearheaded the most retarded economic collapse in human history. True.
Today's number, $6.6 trillion. That's how much value the U.S. stock market shed following Trump's tariff announcement. A record-breaking 2-day wipeout. Ed, I just came from a Necrophiliacs Anonymous meeting, and suddenly it dawned on me, what happens if
So, okay, tell me if I have this story right. Apparently, you guys know the Derek men's clothing guy on Twitter? Apparently some dude called him gay or something, and Derek challenged him to a fight, and he started spamming the address for the guy to show up. And the dude actually, he bullied the guy into doing it. The dude showed up and he whipped his ass, I guess. Did that actually, did that actually happen? The video is not real? Ah, fuck! Ruined my day. You should just lied to me. Fuck you.
I die here?
Now you've reconsidered your views on Scott Galloway. Have you considered taking another look at Maddow? Maybe. The things that I think Scott Galloway says are cringe are still cringe. Like all of his like young man dating takes, I thought were very like 3-year-old red pill verbatim talking points that I heavily disagreed with. And his whole like anti-college shit, I think is really dumb as well. But I like these guys' demeanors. They're left-leaning, like center-left, left-leaning. They're not anti-fucking Democrat. They're not socialists, and they're not soy. They're not like woke scolds or progressives or whatever. And this guy, and I have a lot more respect for Scott too. I didn't realize he was so successful in the business world. So he's not even just like, I'm a liberal complaining about blah, blah. Like this guy is like got real experience. And he seems like very real. He just seems like a super raw, real dude. I don't know. I just appreciate the show. Yeah.
How are you, Ed? How are you?
I'm doing okay, Scott. How are you? Are you reacting?
Why are the other global markets declining much more than ours? Is it due to misinformation and confusion? Well, the U.S. is a massive consumer. Imagine your biggest customer just walks the fuck out. Like, Trump is right to some extent that it will hurt other people more than us, but it also hurts us too. It's just, everybody's just getting fucked by this, so, yeah.
Badly to these tariffs? What's going on with you?
So I'm an emotional tide pool right now, not for the reason you probably think. I lost, I don't know, mid-single digit millions, maybe $10 million on the 48 hours on Thursday and Friday, but that's the bad news. The good news is that means you have a lot of money to begin with. I'm blessed. And I could kind of, I don't want to say I could kind of give a shit, but the reason I'm an emotional type is I just finished up a college tour with my son, and it just is sort of this very, it's a marker in time, you know? It's just, we went to 8 schools in 5 days, and I decided I was going to be totally focused on parenting and not do any business calls, and it's just sort of, you know, it's just very...
Where is the talking point about global markets falling faster than the U.S. coming from? Is that even true? Oh, yeah. What did we watch this morning? Was it the Japanese market got absolutely obliterated? And other markets are going to drop pretty hard as well. Although at the end it might be that the U.S. market takes more damage. I don't know. What are you running around doing? Good luck.
Emotional. He doesn't understand it, but he will when he has sons. But what happened on Thursday and Friday, for me, it's like I was much more upset about the Trump coin. I was much more upset about...
Whoa, shit, what happened? Did the 3-month vestment get in? Did he do his scammerino?
You know, Marines being kicked out of the service because they're transgender. This to me is like so far fucking down the list of this ass clown's un-American, bigoted, weird behavior. I find it just sort of disappointing. All of a sudden, the most powerful people in the nation have decided enough is enough.
Oh, 1 trillion, quadrillion. Now, I just don't have the same upset reaction to him because I've already accepted this, but I super agree with this. But I've already accepted it. And I've said it a million times. Americans won't give a fuck until they feel something personally, and the markets are one way to do it. But I do agree that it is incredibly sad from a civics or patriotic perspective that the only time people give a fuck is when now, oh shit, there's red in my 401k.
When they lose, when their portfolio goes down. So, yeah, I'm a bit of a mess today, but for the right reasons. You know, we know this is stupid, so let's bust right into it. You did a fantastic video, I thought was really powerful, talking about, you know,
it looks like he comes to argue with 2 different guys and told them he looks like each other. No, there's no shot that's true. I know that was a meme, but I thought he did meet and fight with one of them. Maybe not. Maybe the whole thing was just, you know.
Tariffs can play a role in restoring trade symmetry. Talk a little bit about the asymmetry as it relates to U.S. tariffs and our trading partners.
Well, I will get into that. First off,
never mind. Get into other stuff, Ed. You're clearly the fucking producer here.
I gotta stick to our structure that producer Claire.
By the way, that's super sexy when you're not flexible and have to stick to a script. Yeah, that's going to get you laid, boss. Anyways, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm happy to talk about the asymmetry and what.
Honest question, why should people care about something that doesn't affect them? There's something to be said for being able to see a bigger picture and being able to see things that are forward in time. Humans are unique in that my understanding is there are no other, like language is a unique thing. Not the fact that we can speak to each other, but the fact that we can conceptualize things related to language, like time and place. I don't think a dog, for instance, can communicate to another dog in 4 hours, this thing is going to happen, or communicate negatives, right? Or these like grander concepts that we kind of like organize around. And things only work to where they are right now in terms of where humans are because we are able to conceptualize a thing that's larger than ourselves, right? Why does a parent sacrifice themselves for not just a child, right? Any parent can do that, but for like a country or for a religion or for some movement or group of people. This is like a huge driving force of a lot of good stuff in the world. If you look at the United States and you look at a lot of the stuff we have, it's built around or assumes a bunch of different ideals, some of them being things like due process or freedom of speech or our organization of government or broadly like our rule of law. And if you stop defending these concepts, then it's hard to see the damage immediately. Like it's just kind of like small minor shit. But then when stuff starts to go wrong, the problem is it's going to go really wrong. I guess in a way, it's almost like radiation sickness, where if you get a huge dose of radiation, you might get a burn or might feel like a little bit bad immediately, but it's scrambled your DNA. And even if you start to feel better for a little bit, in a few weeks, when those cells start dividing and your DNA starts duplicating, and then all of the scrambled nucleotides start fucking all your shit up and your whole body mutates and you die, right? It feels like that's what we're seeing right now. You have to defend these broader concepts like rule of law, not deporting people without due process, and respecting the separation of powers, and looking to our checks and balances to guide appropriately, the government and what it wants to do. These are things that allow us to enjoy the smaller things, like, can I buy an iPhone, or can I drive my kid to school, or do I feel safe walking down the street? Like, all of these things kind of tie into each other. And we're supposed to be able to have that broader vision than just seeing what's immediately right in front of us. So all that to say, you asked me, like, why should people care about things that don't affect them immediately? These things do affect you. You just don't see it immediately. Yeah.
What I brought up in the previous podcast, which we will get to, is that the US is not getting screwed in the way that we think we are. And we will cover that. Before that, I just want to go over what exactly happened. So Trump's 10% tariffs on all exports to the US and higher rates for roughly 60 countries are the most severe American tariffs in a century. The markets offered a swift and damning condemnation of those policies, with one of the worst sell-offs in recent memory. In the 2 trading days following the announcement, the S&P 500 dropped 11% to its lowest level in 11 months. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq followed the Russell 2000 into bear market territory.
The Russell?
Down 20% from its peak in February.
Anyone
the
else
speed of
rustling?
that drop is rivaled only by the pandemic and the dot-com implosion. The Dow closed Friday down more than 2,000 points for only the 4th time in history. All told, we should probably just reiterate the number you used at the start of the show, which is that the US stock market lost a record $6.6 trillion in 2 days. Okay, now that we've just gotten the basics out of the way, there are many places we could start. I guess the first place that I would start, and that a lot of people are talking about, is how these tariffs were actually calculated, right? So, I think most people know by now the tariff rates that this administration chose had actually nothing to do with the existing tariff rates in the world. Instead, what they did was they took the trade deficit of each country, they divided it by the imports. That's how they determined the existing tariff rate, quote unquote. And then to get the new tariff rate, they divided that number by 2. This calculation,
Is based.
I'm sure you've read about it before.
Based.
People are covering it. It actually has no relationship with the actual tariffs on the US. It's measuring a completely different thing. So, I think that's a big part of why the markets reacted so badly. The markets realized, oh my God, not only are these people
Retarded.
serious about these tariffs,
They're retarded.
but they're
It's
also
actually-
incredibly stupid and misinformed. And I think that was the big freak out for everyone. Now, on the point that you asked me to raise in terms of the trade symmetry, I think what was really interesting to me was this recent article that we saw from the Washington Post, which explains how this whole calculation went down. What happened was Trump asked his...
Wait, I'm so sorry, real quick. Before I waste time doing this, I just want to know if it's possible. Don't tell me how to do it. Are there any people that run ships with just a single crusher, but they use a circuit to just change the recipes on the crusher rather than having 3 separate crushers running? What kind of effects will this have on the ground? Will businesses close down? Will people lose jobs? I mean, it's a death spiral depending on how serious it gets. People will lose jobs because there won't be as much demand for American goods, and then some workers will get laid off, and then demand will get even slower, and then it's a bad cycle of dumb shit.
Team to do the analysis and to go out and find out, okay, what actually is the effective tariff rate on each nation, which is a difficult thing to do because, these tariffs, they're not universal. They're specific to each item, and then that rate can change depending on your relationship with a certain country. In other words, determining a number, a tariff rate, is a difficult thing to do. But his team did it. They went out, they did the analysis, and they went to the president, and they brought him a menu of options. They said, okay, we did what you asked. Here is what we could do. And he looked at the menu and he said, I don't like it. I want to do something else. And that's when he decided on this new trade deficit formula, which again has nothing to do with actual tariffs.
Also, I'm so sorry, but I hope that we've learned, I don't know why I'm saying I'm sorry, fuck you. I hope that we've learned a little bit better that this weird businessman idea of like, oh, like I just vote for the guy who gives me lower taxes. Oh, I just... You can only make that deal for so long before it comes back to bite you in the ass. Like fucking Ayn Rand to do this. Objectivist fucking people do this concept of enlightened self-interest. When Adam Smith talks about the invisible hand, it's not supposed to be a guy you can't see that rapes you, okay? It's supposed to be the idea that in our own self-interest, we also consider the interests of other parties, okay? If you're a business person or a crypto person or whatever, and you're just voting, he's got to lower tax. Okay, just know that when my 4X comes in, all right, I'm looking at you first, okay? I'm looking at you first, all right? In a video game, in Call of Duty.
And this gets back to what I discussed last week, which is that if you actually look at the numbers and you look at our relationship with all of these countries, we're not the victim we like to think we are. Many countries charge less than we do. Most of our largest trading partners charge around the same that we do. And in fact, if you look at the last 15 years, the US has implemented the most amount of hawkish trade interventions of any nation. And so what I think happened was the Trump team went out, they found the data, they did the analysis, they showed him the data, they showed him the truth, and then Trump looked at it and he said, I don't like the data, I don't like the truth, because it doesn't fit with my narrative.
True.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to make up the data and we're going to make up the truth.
And
that's what that board was.
You wish you could do that. You wish that liberals were strong enough to literally just fucking invent truth like that. You wish you could.
That he was holding in the Rose Garden. It was basically a fabricated list. It was like an imaginary world of what if the tariff rates were this amount, and then we'll just divide that what if number by 2 in order to make.
It's like they were listening to a Destiny stream and they took what I said on steroids. Okay, Destiny said that Republicans can get away with anything if we just say the other side did it first. Okay, what if we actually like in real time fabricate what the other side is doing and then just like super do that? It's like some dude like running at you at full speed and you're like, bro, what are you doing? Holy shit, stop. And the guy's like, I've got to punch you because you're punching me right now. Like that's literally what it's every conservative ever.
Make you believe that America is getting screwed. So it's a very interesting dynamic following what I talked about on the last episode, which is, do the numbers, do the math, look at the actual tariff rates, do the hard work of understanding what is going on in the economy, and you will conclude, as is usually the case, America's not really getting screwed on much. In fact, we're the most powerful nation in the world for a reason. We're actually quite stringent on other nations on many things, including tariffs. But Trump, it didn't fit with his narrative.
Trump's demands for lowering the tariffs was having a trade surplus with literally every country in the world. Yeah, how do you even, think about how retarded that is. I'm only going to lift the tariffs if you have a trade surplus. How do you even guarantee that from a policy perspective? Does the government have to start buying shit? What does that even mean?
Trump needs to believe that America is getting screwed by foreigners. And so it was a miraculous thing to see him literally make up the numbers. And I think the most concerning and disturbing thing is seeing his team
go along with it. Because they're pussies.
Sycophantry once again.
They're pussies. Just say it.
At his announcement and basically pretending that he's got it all right, having just told him these are what the real numbers are, and he said, no, I don't like those numbers, and they capitulated.
Yeah, so the first myth we have to take off the table is somehow that America is the victim here, right? If anyone has been flexing their muscle and imposing onerous tariffs that we've been able to figure out a way to pay, I think some of your data, 25% tariff on Japanese trucks entering the U.S., they charge us 0% tariff. I think you said 82% for sugar imported in from Brazil. They charge us 13%. Typically, if there's asymmetry, we're on the right side of the asymmetry.
And I think doesn't the U.S. even win most of its WTO cases? Why am I talking about this like there's any logic here? My bad.
So to speak. This will likely be the second largest or the largest.
They have rejected the 0% tariff offer by Vietnam. Bro! Fuck that. We have a trade surplus with the UK and they still have a 10% tariff. So it doesn't matter. The tariff percentage doesn't matter. We tariff countries that we have a trade surplus with. Okay? How do you know a little bit about everything? 2 key things. 1, is I paid attention in high school, okay? But I don't think that's the big thing. I think the second thing is I just don't have like an ideological capture where I feel like I have to be adhering to some fucking certain party. So then it helps me not be a fucking retard. But I don't know, man. Who knows?
Symmetry, so to speak. This will likely be the second largest or the largest own goal since our entry into Iraq. And the biggest was, or the largest was Nigel Farage convincing angry Brits because the economy hadn't grown that this would be our Independence Day. And the economy has just basically gone sideways since then. Tariffs make no sense. They've never made any sense. There are rare exceptions when they can be used tactically to restore symmetry in key areas where we're getting a raw deal or to protect certain industries that you need for strategic reasons. You probably need a certain amount of domestic steel production in case we go to war. But just to use one
Tenka Muso, are you an only child?
convenient example, Apple. The tariffs that he has imposed are going to cost Apple $40 billion. By the way, it's the importer that pays the tariff. So
you have to admit that you have an S-tier memory. I probably am, if I was being generous, I'd say 155 IQ. No, I'm probably maybe more intelligent than average and probably have a little bit of a better memory than average. However, the huge thing that helps me isn't either of those things. It's the fact that I get to rehearse it every single fucking day on stream, right? Imagine if you were trying to study for some debate or some political talking point and you read it once and like that's it, versus arguing that point over and over again with the chat or 50 billion people. Like the repetition and then having to kind of like, I don't know what you call it when you take a subject and then you kind of engage with it in a dynamic way and you flesh out a conversation back. But like these are the things that help solidify my memory. It's not because I read things like an elephant, I memorize them and I have it completely there like instantly like I'm fucking the guy in Suits or whatever. It's just getting to use it over and over and over and over again is the thing that helps me the most.
They're going to have to pay $40 billion, right? That comes right off the bottom line. The PE of Apple was 38. Now I think it's 34. So you're talking about $1 trillion in shareholder losses to Apple. And I want to come back to shareholder losses. In addition, the idea is that if you kind of raise the cost, then it inspires.
Sorry to derail, but I need help. How do I deal with overprotective, low-key, obsessive, controlling parents that also shit on me for not being a functional adult? Example would be not letting me move out, but also expecting me to stop relying on them, but also constantly hawking over every single thing I do and expecting daily status reports. What the fuck do? I tried everything from running away to actually fighting them to no avail. I feel like there's more to this story, so I don't know if I can diagnose this. I mean, if you're an adult, you can just leave, right? If you're over 17, you can just leave. I don't know how old you are, but... Uncivil Law did a breakdown on the illegal deportation and started yelling at his chat for being unprincipled. Oh, that's good. The good logic guy is lost. The uncivil law guy is maybe not completely lost, but...
Domestic idea is that if you kind of raise the cost...
Also, I'm wasting my time saying this. I'm wasting my time saying this, okay? I don't ever want to hear, ever, anybody talk about insider trading as well in Congress when not a single one of these subhuman conservative fucks has asked a single question about, did anybody in Trump's cabinet know that these tariffs were coming? Did anybody close to Trump know that these tariffs were coming? Do any of these people, because if you're a cabinet member, do you have to report your stock sales like members of Congress do? If you're somebody in Trump's inner circle, are you like, does anybody know any of the answers? Nobody's even asking that. But,
In addition, the idea is that if you kind of raise the cost, then it inspires domestic production. To produce an iPhone in the U.S. would cost $3,500 an iPhone. So we're not moving back manufacturing. All it's going to do is...
You say that and then quote something from 11th grade physics that you've never used in your life beyond getting a passing grade. Bro, my GPA in high school, from high school to college, I was literally, I want to say like a... What have I said before? I feel like I make this. It was like 2.5. I had a horrible GPA. I didn't get a full ride to college because my GPA fucked me so hard. And I thought you could get one from just standardized test scores, and you can't. I got fucked. So And also keep in mind the types of things that you watch me. There's a certain way that my mind puts together ideas. That's why if you ask me something from if you ask me certain things, I'll remember it, but only if I like conceptually understood it. If I conceptually understood a thing, then I'll be able to tell you about fucking valence electrons and why the outer shell can hold 8 or the 2, 4, 8, whatever that. Like I can tell it to you if I understand the concept. But if it's something that I didn't remember conceptually, then I have no memory for it whatsoever. Like if you ask me I don't even know who the second president of the United States is. Washington, and then I don't even know. Like I would just guess Adams or Jefferson. I have no idea. Adams. Okay, yeah, but I don't know anything about him. I don't even know. Like I'm literally just guessing. I have no idea. So if it's something that I've like conceptually understood, like I typically hold on to it pretty well. But if it's not, I have a ton of huge gaps of knowledge that maybe a lot of other people remember things for. Because like remembering like discrete facts, I have, or it's why I fuck up my months so often too. Like I have to, because of the prefixes fuck me so hard, and I have to +2 everything. Like September feels like the 7th month, October would be the 8th month, November, but then it's got to be like 8 + 2, and that's why I have to count them out or write them out. It fucking drives me crazy.
The idea is that if you kind of raise the cost, then it inspires domestic production. To produce an iPhone in the U.S. would cost $3,500 an iPhone.
Based.
So we're not moving back manufacturing. All it's going to do is increase the price of an iPhone from $1,600 to $2,300 and reduce.
Fuck. Okay, hold on. I won't pause anymore. Is that why you weren't a fan of history for a long time, since conceptual parts of history aren't really taught in high school? Yeah, it's because I didn't learn full stories. I feel like in high school you learn way more like discrete events. I think you can probably find things of me on stream up to like 3 years ago saying history sucks and I fucking hate history. Now I super enjoy history.
It's the price. So we're not moving back manufacturing. All it's going to do is increase the price of an iPhone from $1,600 to $2,300 and reduce the market capitalization of Apple by $1 trillion. And that is fairly typical of what happens
when you're
across the board.
As fuck.
So it is difficult to think of a more elegant way to reduce prosperity than tariffs. And what people aren't talking about that's even more damaging is the uncertainty. People don't know how to plan their businesses. If he just come out and said, all right, 10% tariffs, businesses, both foreign and domestic, could plan their business, get on with it. They don't know who they're waking up next to. His sclerotic, epileptic decision-making, he could cancel all tariffs on Monday. So no one knows what to do here. What they are doing is the largest companies, the largest economies in the world are reconfiguring their supply routes to excise American manufacturers and American services firms from their supply chain.
I still feel like we're in a, I think there's a name for this. I want to say like in a twilight state. It's in this state of waking and dreaming, or the vibe I have is the world still hasn't fully bought into the idea that has the U.S. really just Brexited from world trade? Did the U.S. literally just jettison its whole economy? Is the whole world order just shattered now in terms of free trade, the WTO, U.S. guaranteeing trade route? Like, is that all gone? I don't know if we've actually accepted, but when I say we, I mean like humanity has actually accepted it yet. If it does, and this is what I think people in Congress or Secret Service members should think about, is that if the world fully wakes up to that, and the world is like, okay, yeah, we have to move. This is real. Where it doesn't come back, like it just that doesn't. We don't go back. There is no. Thank God the liberals won next election. Like there's going to be kind of like a reshuffling of the world, where people it's just a shittier place for all of us. You're not going to be able to, because I think the big issue with a lot of what Trump wants, or a lot of what I don't want to say conservatives because I'm not going to call them that anymore. They're not. What Trump wants in some ideal world is this massive capital investment in new manufacturing in the United States. These things take time. There's a return on investment over a decade horizon sometimes. There's just no world where we can just push a button and go back to what it was before. And yeah, I hope that everybody who could do anything is considering all this. Not that they should do anything, but
Will take.
Imagine. The thing is, too, like, Trump could have done some radical shit that at least would have been like, and maybe like radically upsetting, but at least could have been like good. Like, imagine if Trump was like, you know what? We're going to do this, but this would require him to be smart or have different goals. I keep saying that he's stupid, but maybe he just wants to destroy everything and he's not dumb and he's doing exactly what he wants to do. Like, imagine if Trump said, we are going to punish everybody that has these unfair trade practices with us in the United States. And we're going to do that by implementing a value-added tax, and we're going to treat some people less fairly. It's like, okay, fuck me. That probably, or I mean, like, punishing exporters, punishing people that do imports is probably not good in our country, but hey, we got a VAT, you know, that's cool. That's interesting. We can work with that in the future. There's like something to build off of there. But we have nothing. It's just fucked.
Reconfiguring their supply routes to excise American manufacturers and American services firms.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I think there is a deeper problem of the world order being held by a country surrounded by oceans rather than someone more connected. I've said this over and over and over again, and I'll say this again. The United States is just, you want to talk about like argument from intelligent or argument from design. I think some religious people make this argument that clearly the universe is designed because of how everything fits in naturally, right? If there was an argument for design for world politics, the United States being across the ocean just makes us the perfect people to lead everything. It's just so good. We're far away from everybody. We don't have our own historical conflicts or problems that we're constantly wanting to fight with people about. We have a healthy distance from every single party. So like has there ever been, let me make sure I'm not saying something super retarded. I don't think I am. Like, has there ever been a period in the past 100 years where the EU, where any European countries have been like, God, I hate the United States because they're favoring Germany more than France. They're favoring the Italians more than the Spaniards. Fuck them. Like, U.S. citizens are so retarded. We don't even know the difference between all these. It's all just Europe to us, right? Like, the U.S. is just the perfect situation to be in where the U.S. can just handle that shit. It was just so good. It was just so good. It was so good.
Largest companies, the largest economies in the world, are reconfiguring their supply routes to excise American manufacturers and American services firms from their supply chain. This will take likely years, if not decades, to repair and reassemble. The other thing we're not missing, and Josh Brown brought this up, and I just think it was a fascinating insight. It's that if you look at the products we export, a lot of finished products, a lot of high-value manufacturing. By the way, we need to rebuild our manufacturing base. No, we have purposely traded it off because the services jobs we've replaced the manufacturing base with are generally higher paying. And we are still the second largest manufacturer in the world behind China. But for example, we take an NVIDIA chip, very, very high value add, and we export those chips.
Oh, good job.
Those products probably
like this, and this feels so dumb. And I hate podcasts. Podcasts are supposed to be the way that they were sold to us by lay epic centers. Is podcasts is where you get into these really deep discussions about stuff that you can't normally do on a quick radio show or not even a radio show, but stuff you can't do on a quick 3-minute YouTube video or a news segment. But instead, like, I appreciate what Scott is saying here, and he's correct. But it's like, okay, so this is what we have to do is we have to go over like grade school, high school econ over and over and over again. Like, I'm happy that he's saying it, but I feel depressed that I'm happy that he's saying it because, yeah, duh.
We have a 50 or 60 point profit margin. We import Mercedes. Mercedes maybe has a 10% profit margin. The products we...
Like, imagine looking at... I'm sorry, it's so stupid. Imagine you suck somebody from the 1500s and you inject them into 2025 and you're like, look at these countries. And the guy's like, yeah, holy shit. Like, look at them all. Look at India and all the stuff going on here and all the poverty in some of their lower classes, and look at China, all these people that can't even read, and the sweatshops they work at in Vietnam and Thailand, and then look at the U.S. here. And the guy's like, yeah, wow, I'm seeing all that. And the guy's like, yeah, the U.S. is getting fucked. And the guy's like, wait, what? Yeah, the U.S. is getting taken advantage of. The United States, the country where the homeless people are fat, that country is getting taken advantage of by who? By Cambodia and by Vietnam and by Madagascar and by they're when you say taken advantage of, you mean like, yeah, they're taking them for a ride. Look at how much India's fucking over the United States. Like, okay, that's certainly a take that one could have. I'm sorry, it's fucking retarded. All right. Feel free to disregard. Why do people like a VAT? I'm sure there are better reasons to like it than what I know of, but I don't know why I didn't know this. But I did know it. I just never thought about it. I didn't even consider the fact that the United States doesn't have a federal consumption tax. I just never really thought about it. We just don't have a federal consumption tax. And a VAT, I think, just allows you to apply a consumption tax in a relatively nuanced way for the federal government to make money. Our federal government needs to make more money. And VATs are really, 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 really good ways to raise money. Also, well, there are other good ways to raise money too, but Americans are too retarded for it. So the right will never be okay with any tax increase, and the left only wants wealth taxes, which are fucking retarded, when we should just bump up all of our fucking rates and add a VAT. We should just do that. We'd raise so much more money. Sorry.
Mercedes profit margin. We import Mercedes. Mercedes maybe has a 10% profit margin. The products we generally import in have a much lower margin than the products we export because we're bigger in services and high value add products. So let's just look at NVIDIA versus Apple. NVIDIA has a price to sales ratio of about 24. Mercedes has a price to sales ratio of 0.23, meaning if you were to go pro rata and assume we're going to reduce $1 billion because of these reciprocal tariffs, which they didn't think were going to happen for some reason, but let's just assume for shits and giggles $1 billion less of Mercedes coming in because of the tariffs and $1 billion less of NVIDIA chips going out. That's a reduction in market cap of 23 or 24 billion to NVIDIA.
That's a structural problem with democracy. You can't increase taxes or you get voted out. But the problem isn't just taxes. The problem is the whole fucking concept of everything by everybody. Like, I saw this on the conservative subreddit yesterday. So I don't know why I was linked to this. I need to not read this. I was reading through some of these posts. How can you not want to fund your IRS and then talk in the next breath about being serious about funding your government or balancing your budget? Bro, I did, oh, I have to plug this. If people want to debate me, wait. If you want to debate me on my billionaire defending op-ed, because I'm trying to write a weekly article now, like a newsletter type thing for that Pragmatic Papers people. I don't know if I'll do it weekly or not. But there are debate signups because we're gonna do a weekly debate event over whatever the fuck I write. But here you go. Fuck, hold on. First link is to the subreddit post. Second link is to the sign up for that if you want to do it. While I was doing research for this article, bro, I didn't realize how much money we don't get every single year because our IRS doesn't have the ability to go after it. If you would have asked me to guess, my guess would have been on the my guess would have been maybe like 10 to maybe 50 billion tops would have been my guess. 50 billion is even high though. The actual number is like, it's like 400 to 600 billion a year in money that we just don't collect. Because we just don't have the resources to go after it. Why do you not want to fund your... Why not just fund your collection body? It's so stupid. Hold on, where is this? Federal tax compliance research. This is for 2022. So there's two things. They have the tax gap, and then there's I think the net tax gap is after, I think is what they, tax gap is what is unpaid, and the net tax gap is what they collect after, like, people pay late sometimes. The net tax gap projection for 2022 was $606 billion. Billion. That's over half our military budget. It is an ungodly amount of money. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? What the fuck? Like, this is every single possible thing you could ever cut from the government times 10 for waste, fraud, and abuse. It's such an ungodly, and nobody wants to fund the IRS. I saw they posted somewhere in here because the conservatives keep trying to... Ooh, anybody ejaculating too soon? Oh, I bet the voice picked this up because every time we listen to... Fuck, who were we listening to last time? I'm coming! But it's not premature. It's right on time. IRS cutting its workforce by 25%. Glad we authorized that 80,000 member increase. The 80,000 workforce increase with that piece of legislation. Glad we did that, by the way. Then you remember that they recently added 87K employees. I don't think those all got added. So, not really the direction it sounds like. Now, get rid of the ATF. Ooh, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, true. The people that have to do their record keeping on paper. By the way, these same guys are like, oh, so glad Doji is going into the fucking mines. Meanwhile, the ATF is federally mandated to keep paper records because they don't want an electronic database of gun owners. It's so stupid.
Gun violence impacts nearly every...
Humming scanners. From the chaos of an active crime scene to this, humming scanners, stacks of paper,
Serial number for this.
and whispered phone calls. This is the only building of its kind in the world, the ATF's National Tracing Center. And in this building, these boxes line hallways. They surround cubicles, and this really is just part of it. If you walk outside, there's more. All these tractor trailers are full of boxes, waiting to be sorted back inside.
We have upwards of 30,000 boxes of records.
The goal here, to tell police where a gun used in a crime comes from.
That's the piece of information that we're trying to get back to law enforcement as an investigative lead.
Neil Trotman's unit gets about 2,000 requests every day, and most of the searching is done by hand, from unpacking to sorting.
They have to do this because Republicans don't want a digital database of gun owners, by the way.
Almost assembly line precision.
What do you say to people who may be surprised by this? And from the outside, it may look like, wow, in this day and age, this seems like it's really behind.
You know, there are laws in place, and given the way the laws are written and the process that we need to follow, we've actually developed over the years a very efficient process of tracing firearms.
Because of that law from the 1960s, these records aren't allowed to be kept in a database to easily look up gun serial numbers. It's all kept on these sheets, stored...
By the way, Doge will never, ever go into a place like this. Fuck MAGA. Fuck MAGA. They don't give a fuck about making any of this more efficient. It was just a bullshit excuse to cut away what they didn't like from the government in an illegal manner.
Electronically, but not searchable. Each worker can scan up to 50,000 pages a day.
We do get that phone call sometimes saying, hey, can you look up the serial number? Well, that's not at all how this works.
Once the ATF gets the serial number, they call the manufacturer to learn where the gun was sold. They hit that goal 70% of the time, and most requests take 10 to 12 days to process.
We're doing this like some...
10 to 12 days. You should be able to open up a fucking Excel spreadsheet and Control F and look this up in 30 seconds on the same phone call.
Third world country. I mean, this makes no sense.
We shared what we found with Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont. He's working on a bill right now on this very issue to create a searchable database saying the current system is obsolete.
It's costing us millions of dollars more than it should, but it's hurting law enforcement. And it's allowing, in many instances, a criminal to get a long head start before they can ever be caught.
We asked the NRA for comment, and so far we haven't heard back from them on.
Because the NRA are shills. The NRA are fucking shills. I have to wear a fucking mask when I go shooting. One guy recognized me at the fucking shooting range last time. I was like, wait a second. Hold on. I recognize that perfect shot. That guy who's nailing this target from 50 yards with irons in one hand, that must be destiny. And the guy's like, why do you always go out in a fucking mask? Do you not want like people to like recognize you and talk to you? And I say, no, I don't want to be seen with retarded fucking gun owners. Okay. I don't want anybody to ever mix me up with the subhuman fucking filth, because I don't know how many of you dipshits are inbred NRA supporters or any other variety of dipshit fucking pro-gun or, you know, protesters. All the people who had so much to say about Rittenhouse and nothing to say about Philando Castile, or all the people who are talking about how important gun safety is but won't even let the ATF look for a fucking serial number. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck!
But in the past, several gun rights groups have said before, the idea of an online database means Big Brother watching and infringes on their rights.
Why? If Trump did it, you'd have no problem.
In Washington, Blair Miller, News Center 7.
As we mentioned, the ATF handled the case involving the weapon used to shoot Dayton Police Detective George Del Rio. Now, Butler County man faces charges. Investigators said he lied on ATF forms when he bought the gun later used to kill Del Rio. ATF pushed for an urgent trace for all 3 guns found in the house where Del Rio was shot. That led agents to Delano Wells. Court documents show Wells bought at least...
It's like talking to a wall, trying to explain to Reddit that the 80,000 new agents will not be targeting the ultra-rich. They will be used as a government-funded complete choke point for upper-middle-class business owners to be wrung out of a few more pennies. This will do absolutely nothing to the overall deficit. And these same morons, the loudest ones, of course, will see it as victory. $600 billion will do nothing to the overall deficit. But that $500,000 that we took from the Malaysian trans dance studio, whoo, I'm taking that money to the bank. I got an extra 1 sprinkle on my McDonald's ice cream yesterday because of the 0.001 cents that Elon Musk saved me when Big Balls cummed on the fucking government server. Sorry. Okay.
Because of the tariffs and $1 billion less of NVIDIA chips going out. That's a reduction in market cap of 23 or 24 billion to NVIDIA shareholders, and it's a reduction of 23 million to Mercedes shareholders. In other words, if we go pari passu and lose $1 for every dollar they lose, that's not the analogy. This is apples to aircraft carriers. The hit to our stock market, the hit to our market capitalization, the hit to the compensation via options of domestic employees that work for these amazing firms will be much greater than the hit to foreign markets. We'll hurt both. All the markets were down, right? Our market was down. Europe stocks.
If you believe that throwing more money at the IRS will lead to recovering more tax dollars than it costs, please explain why we invested $8 billion last year and recovered $2 billion. I don't know I don't know where either of those numbers come from or what that even means. I'm sorry. What is your assumption? That we don't need the IRS to collect tax revenues in the United States? I shouldn't have paid my taxes this year. Fuck me. I can't believe I gave this government so much fucking money.
600 fell 8%. UK's FTSE fell 7%. The MSCI Asia Index fell 5%. This guy has figured out a way
to fuck us all.
Elegantly take down the prosperity of
everybody.
The global economy.
Remember, all the fucking... This is every MAGA person, okay? This is every MAGA person. Can we do the progressive, like, can we do a 1% wealth tax past $100 million? Can we do a 1% wealth tax to cure poverty and homelessness? And MAGA's like, 1% wealth tax? Excuse me, don't you understand how that would destroy the 100 millionaires and the billionaires in this economy? Like, do you really think they could handle a wealth tax? It would be untenable. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what should we do? How about instead of the wealth tax, what if we just fucking set the money on fucking fire instead? Wouldn't that be way more based? Like, wouldn't this be just better? Like, why give it to anybody when we could just literally fucking set it on fire? Wouldn't that be so much better?
And
okay. Sorry, I'm gonna pause somewhere. All right, go, Scott. Tell us.
The MSCI Asia Index fell 5%. This guy has figured out a way to elegantly take down the prosperity of the global economy. And I only have one of two scenarios here. And one sounds paranoid, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong. The first scenario is this guy's just a fucking idiot. And nobody around him has the stones to say, this is just a really bad idea.
True.
And it's going to cost you a lot of votes, a lot of support.
Probably not good.
Farmers are going to get hit the hardest.
Yeah, they probably
Canada
will.
and Europe are already deciding to be more strategic with their tariffs, and they're going after the heart and lungs. They're going after the red states. They're either all acolytes or he just doesn't listen to them. My second scenario, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but what I would ask our listeners to contemplate is the following. If President Trump had received $10 billion or a commitment of $10 billion from both Putin and Xi into his Trump coin in exchange for dividing the Western alliance, for driving the biggest trading partners into the arms of China, for withdrawing from Ukraine, wouldn't that just make perfect fucking sense right now?
Why are you even asking that, though? You fucking retard. He has a crypto chain. You'll never be able to verify if those bribes happened. You'll never be able to know if that is the case. We can't even ask the fucking question. You can't even ask that question. You don't even know.
If Xi and Putin had called this guy and said, all right, I mean, he's either this fucking stupid or this fucking corrupt. Because none of this shit
makes any sense.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. There's no theory of mind at all. Like, how do you even begin to try to understand it?
Absolutely any sense whatsoever.
I get you're pissed, but you're rich. Why is it making you so angry? You'll be fine. No. Because I care about this country. At the end of the day, wealthy people will be wealthy. It's not like I'm going to be in the fucking poorhouse. But it's not good for the country. And if you care about your country, I imagine that this type of stuff was probably something that would bother you. I would imagine, but maybe not, you know? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows and who cares?
There is no evidence, there is no support, there is no empirical argument for why or how this does anything but reduce prosperity, throw our trading partners into the arms of our adversaries. Japan, South Korea, and China are talking for the first time about closer economic ties. So this is the inconsistency, the market capitalization loss, the general sort of reduction in the value proposition of our products abroad while increasing our prices domestically. This is Nigel Farage on steroids. But Trump is going to take down a bunch of Western economies in the short term. The big winner is China, because China is basically going to scoop up a lot of these trading relationships that we are throwing in the dustbin.
Yeah. I think the Brexit analogy is the correct one. And by the way, we've been making that analogy since the very beginning, ever since he said the word tariff, which is, it was an extremely emotionally...
Also, I hope, please keep pointing this out. Please, God, keep pointing this out. Okay? That this is the all roads lead to Rome shit is so fucking real. That all of these exact same conservatives that were telling you of how amazing it was, that they were telling you how fucking amazing it was that the markets rose for Donald Trump's first term and everything. Now they're telling you that the markets falling don't matter. All the people that were championing the renegotiation of NAFTA into the U.S., Canada, Mexico free trade agreement are now telling you that that agreement sucked and that tariffs are the way to go. All the people that were telling you that the markets did better under Trump and the Kamala crash was horrible and all that shit, now they're telling you that the stock market doesn't matter. All the people that were telling you that the just nothing, anything can happen and it will always be okay. There will always be a way to explain it. Donald Trump talked to Tim Pool and they agreed on bombing Yemen being a horrible idea. And Trump himself said you should just talk to them. And then Trump bombs Yemen and everybody goes crazy for it. Who knows if we're going to end up attacking Iran? If we do, they'll support it. Trump said he would solve Ukraine-Russia on day one. He didn't. Trump said that Russia wouldn't have had the balls to invade Ukraine under his watch. Russia stepped up to attacks, and Trump has done absolutely nothing. Like, just nothing. Nothing is happening. Any possible thing that can happen, the MAGA will always find a way to support it. If Trump didn't do anything, the stock market went up, they would say, that's good that the stock market is going up. Good for Trump. Because remember, we watched that guy do it on Jubilee. I'm sorry. I'm done. Okay, I'm not pausing anymore. I'm so sorry. Okay, it's just...
Brexit analogy is the correct one. And by the way, we've been making that analogy since the very beginning, ever since he said the word tariff, which is, it was an extremely emotionally compelling argument at the time to tell everyone that this sovereign nation
is getting taken
being
advantage,
screwed by its partners.
True.
And no one had, I would say, the attention span to go in and look at the data and actually understand what was happening. And it was more exciting to assume that we're getting screwed and that we need to sort of batten down the hatches and turn inward. And we saw the effects of that play out over multiple years, and we've covered it in many episodes before. The UK economy is absolutely dog shit, is what I would say right now. You said they flatlined.
Brexit didn't help them?
They've contracted.
Really?
I mean, it's been a total disaster. And the entire...
Wait, but I thought Brexit was going to be the revitalization of the United Kingdom. By the way, I'm pretty sure that the UK has imported now more foreign workers than they even had when they were part of the European Union in order to try to shore up their labor markets. Everything in the UK in terms of pricing is like fucked. It's the UK. Every time I say like, oh, computer engineers or software developers get paid so much, and I have to correct myself. When I'm correcting myself, I'm saying I'm only speaking about America. What I'm really thinking of are Europeans, okay? Or what I'm really thinking of are the English, okay? The UKers, the bongers. Oh my God, their labor markets and everything are fucked right now. And then you had that fucking retard driving around in that stupid fucking bus, and you fucking retards fucking fell for it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just like conservatives in the US. Guys, why are we wasting so much money in Ukraine? We could spend it on our own people. Okay, we're not spending money in Ukraine anymore. Do you want to spend it on our people? No. Oh, okay. It's time to stop supporting sweatshops. We need to support American labor. Oh, okay, cool. Are you guys like pro-union now? No. Do you want to like bump the minimum wage? No. Expand the earned income tax credit? No. Okay. What the fuck are we doing here? What the fuck is the plan? Are you just a hater? They're just haters. The American MAGA party has just become an anti-fan group of the United States of America. Okay, sorry. Okay. I'm done. Okay, no more pausing for the rest of this video.
Country recognizes contracted. I mean, it's been a total disaster, and the entire country recognizes that now. They recognize, oh, yeah, that was a mistake. So we've said from the beginning, this is the same thing at play. We're getting very excited about the idea that we're getting patriotic, and, we're going to sort of say fuck you to our quote-unquote enemies, who are in reality our friends, actually. And we're going to be pro-America, quote-unquote America first. And we've said from the beginning, it's not going to work. It's going to tank the economy. It's going to tank the stock.
Yep. Wait, what is this?
Boris, Mark, or not?
That's where I've been for the last few years. I've got to say, I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. Okay, fine. Thank you. Mark, we're going to move on from that and go to David. And you...
And we've said from the beginning, it's not going to work. It's going to tank the economy. It's going to tank the stock market.
I'm sorry. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm done. Okay, hold on. I just want you to understand, okay? I am decently intelligent, yes, okay? But I'm not like a seer, okay? And I'm not like extra gifted when it comes to finance or economics. So if there's a thought in your head that like, oh, wow, Destiny or some people were just able to call this really, really well. No, that's not what happened. This was all super obvious from the very beginning. The writing was not literally on the wall. The writing was in the past 4 years of Trump's presidency. Like I said this in so many videos. He did tariffs before. He said he wants to do them again. He said tariffs was his favorite word. He said he wanted to tariff every country in the fucking world. He said it over and over and over and over and over again. And then he did it. None of this was mysterious. None of this required you to have some unique or keen insight into like finance or economics or macro econ or any of that. All you literally had to do was stop injecting Donald Trump with your fantasies of what you wanted him to be. When Donald Trump says he's going to tariff everybody, what he really meant was go to page 72 if you're into cryptocurrency. 72. What he really meant was he was going to make a global reserve currency of crypto and be the number one crypto bank of the world. Oh, cool. Okay, I'll go back. Turn to page 47 if you are a nationalist. Let's see. When Donald Trump said this, Donald Trump meant that he was just going to strengthen U.S. manufacturing. Okay, go back. Go to page 127 if you're it wasn't like he became an empty vessel for everybody to just put whatever they wanted inside of him and pretend that's what he was saying. I think that Donald Trump just means what? You're the party of people who are telling me that you can't mind read this guy when he's literally telling people to fight like hell or you're going to lose your fucking country. And he sends a whole mob of people off to go and fucking riot at the Capitol. And now you're telling me that you can mind read some unsaid thing that he's going to supposedly do with absolutely no evidence. Like, okay. That was the last part. Sorry, I'm done. Okay.
We said from the beginning, it's not going to work. It's going to tank the economy. It's going to tank the stock market. I said that to many of my MAGA friends, and they said I had Trump derangement syndrome. It's very, very simple stuff. Now, you say, what is the reasoning here? I'll just tell you what the reasoning that I'm hearing from the MAGA base is. The argument from Trump supporters right now is basically twofold. The first is that this is a long-term play. They would point to our debt load. They would point to our deficit.
By the way, if you want to unplug that argument instantaneously, then what you should ask somebody, super easy question. You'd ask somebody goes, we need to do something about the national debt. Then what you should ask them is, oh, okay, I can get on board with that. What should our debt be? And then when they short fucking circuit because they realize they have absolutely no way to even begin to answer that question, and some might even take the bait and realize, like, we're like, zero? Really? That's what our national debt should be? Zero? What business do you know? What individual know that is supposed to carry zero debt? What does that mean? That's the right, like, so they don't have an answer for that. It's like, okay, well, you don't even know what our debt should be. Then why would you be taking these massive fucking moves to remedy the debt when you don't even know what it should be? Like, what are we doing here, guys?
They would say this is not sustainable and that failure on this path is inevitable in the next, call it 20 years. So if we don't shake things up dramatically right now, we are essentially admitting defeat. And if we do this, we can, reconstitute a new economy that is less dependent on government debt, as it has been in the past, and is more dependent on revenue, external revenue, as he puts it, from tariffing other countries. So that's sort of the first argument, that it's, a long-term play. The second is that it's a negotiating tactic. And they would say, these tariffs, they're probably not here to stay. But what it does is it freaks everyone out. It shows all these other nations we're serious, we'll actually do this stuff, and it will allow us to bring them to the table and make them do whatever they want, whatever we want. So that would be their argument. My issue is those two arguments are completely contradictory, because it's either a real policy that has long-term benefits, or it's like a pump fake and a negotiating tactic. It can't be both. So I would like to get your response to their response. What would be your reaction to their arguments? Either one, that we have to do this because America is screwed on this long-term debt path, or two, this is 4D chess, it's a negotiating tactic.
Yeah.
40 chess.
The trope or the weirdness
40.
here, whenever no one in the administration can justify, explain, or rationalize a decision he's making, they claim he's playing 4D chess, that this is so stupid or crazy that it's crazy genius and you just aren't privy to his genius yet. Enough already. That's just fucking stupid. There's a lot of smart people out.
It's fucking retarded, but close enough.
Aren't privy to his genius yet. Enough already. That's just fucking stupid. There's a lot of smart people out there. Tell us what you're thinking. And this notion that, all will be revealed, his genius will be revealed. That argument doesn't hold. I think the best argument from an optics standpoint is it is true that we've lost a lot of manufacturing jobs. And at least theoretically, if you raise the price
he'll get into this and I'll get into this. Losing sectors of jobs isn't necessarily bad. We also probably lost a lot of really talented, good old boys that could really work a whip when we outlawed slavery, okay? We've lost types of jobs because economies change and evolve as technology and global economies progress. It's fine that some jobs are gone. We can't go back into the past to try to retrieve some economic reality where those types of jobs were viable. You adapt and you move on. That's every marker of success in the world is being able to adapt to new environments and move on. And if there are some people that are getting hurt by that, then you find ways to redistribute or recompense those people rather than destroying our entire fucking economy so that some people can feel good about nailing fucking doors to car frames.
Of imports, our domestic manufacturers should be more competitive, theoretically, and you should increase manufacturing jobs. The problem is they impose reciprocal tariffs. I mean, just as an example, 88% of toys under the Christmas tree are from China. Tariffs on toys, I think, are going from 3% to like 33 or something. So a 20% increase in the cost of toys. 90+% of Americans are on a fixed budget for Christmas gifts. They just can't spend whatever it takes. So just to bring it home, this Christmas, 90% of households are going to have 20% fewer gifts under the tree for their kids. Instead of 10 gifts, they're going to have 8.
Good, based.
Suffer. The notion it's going to bring back manufacturing doesn't really hold. I do believe you could say, all right, we're going to give massive subsidies to the chips industry because it's strategic. It'll create good jobs. We're going to spend a lot of money on an infrastructure bill, which will create shovel-ready jobs for people here who don't have college degrees. I'm sympathetic to the argument that we need more on-ramps. But the notion that tariffs are going to somehow restore American manufacturing
is retarded.
It doesn't pan out that way. As a matter of fact, almost every example. This is essentially the policies of Latin America from the kind of the 50s to the 80s, and it didn't work. It was a disaster for them. And then a lot of people think that essentially China, had all of this kind of cultural backlash, and basically they said Mao Zedong, his strategies didn't work, so they've totally embraced kind of, I don't want to say open trade because they in fact are not open in terms of media. But let's just use that as an example. And to be fair, we should tariff the shit, i.e. ban TikTok because they don't allow Meta into their country. That's an example where I think you could have tariffs or basically a ban. But essentially, Meta trades at 8 times sales. ByteDance trades at 3, despite the fact it's growing faster. Now, why do our companies trade at a much higher multiple than their analog abroad? It's because, one, we have rule of law here. We have higher growth. We have more innovation, great universities, more risk capital, more risk-aggressive people, more flexible companies. We also are seen as consistent, and that is good trading partners. Now, all of a sudden, in a matter of a few short months since inauguration, we've gone from the rule of fair play or rule of law being a huge attribute. I mean, you can't overestimate. When I speak to people who've come here, who've immigrated here, they say the rule of fair law. I have a close friend who runs a lot of my money from El Salvador, and he's like, the bottom line is you can be successful in El Salvador, and someone might just show up and take your money.
People don't, in the United States, people just don't understand like how nice it is to not have to worry about stuff like that.
who with the government's backing.
Yeah.
I have another good friend who came from Russia. Said, you get the wrong person makes a call about you, you're done. You get as much money as you can, and you get out. The rule of fair law is no longer a given here in the U.S. Consistency, being a good trader.
Netanyahu doing at the White House, probably begging for relief from tariffs.
Partner, no, that's no longer a rule here. We're doing used car sales on the White House lawn. So what you're going to see here, and the reason why I am transitioning out of U.S. stocks, is even after this rout. We traded a P, the S&P trades at a P of around 24, 25. It was 28. Germany's around 21, Japan 16, China 14. A lot of that is directly correlated to what I'll call the separation of business and state. and that is business embraces rule of law and competition, and the government stays out of the way. And that is not true in China. The CCP can weigh in, and you can't rely on the Chinese government.
I love that Richard tweet. Let's try a command economy, except with even dumber motherfuckers. People who are even stupider than fucking socialists and commies.
To not meddle with competition. And that's one of the reasons it trades at a much lower multiple. You are about to see dramatic contraction in the multiple across the S&P because a lot of the features that created a flow of capital into the U.S., consistency...
Also, warning, okay? I'll lose audience members over this. And I'm so sorry, okay? But I'm only human, okay? I'm only human. And we're all racist sometimes, all right? If Ben Shapiro's position flips on tariffs just because Israel gets a tariff reprieve, I will become the strongest anti-Semitic warrior on the internet, okay? I will become the strongest anti-Semitic warrior on the internet. You've never even seen anti-Semitism, okay, like what I can muster up. I swear to fucking God, holy shit.
Action in the multiple across the S&P because a lot of the features that created a flow of capital into the U.S., consistency, rule of law, are no longer attributes that people can rely on. This will take, I mean, think about it. If we go from a multiple of 25 to say where Japan is at 16, Meta, Ford Motor, P&G could increase their earnings 60% and the stock would be flat over the next 4 or 5 years. You can't outrun multiple contraction. If you've invested in Latin America over the last 10 years, you've been fucked. And you might have picked great companies that outperformed, increased earnings, increased revenues, but the stock hasn't gone up because the multiple contraction has vastly outpaced the individual earnings or revenue growth of that company. And that is what, in my view, we are about to experience here in the U.S. through this inconsistency. All of a sudden, the U.S. brand is about kleptocracy and sclerotic decision-making.
We'll be right back. And if you're enjoying the show so far, be sure to like and subscribe to the Prof G Pod YouTube channel at the link below.
Prof G!